When the Word became flesh, Part 2, Miracles. Hello and welcome. In this video, we'll be reviewing just a few of the many instances in which the Mashiach, Yahusha, works miracles. Quickly, let's define the word miracle. Miracle, an extraordinary event manifesting divine intervention in human affairs. An extremely outstanding or unusual event, thing, or accomplishment. A divinely natural phenomenon experienced humanly as the fulfillment of spiritual law. So what we're about to read about are events that can only be done with the help of a supernatural being. In this case, Yahuwah gives to his son Yahusha the power and authority to do these things. And yes, one doesn't just need power, but authority also. Otherwise, they can get really hurt like the 7 sons of Sceva. For more information, go to Acts chapter 19, verses 13 to 16. Anyway, let's begin in John chapter 9, verses 1 to 7. And as Yahusha passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Yahusha answered, Neither hath this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of Yahuwah should be made manifest in him. I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. As long as I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground, and made clay of the spittle, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay, and said unto him, Go, wash in the pool of Siloam, which is by interpretation, sent. He went his way therefore, and washed, and came seeing. The neighbors thereof, and they which before had seen him that was blind, said, Is not this he that sat and begged? Some said, This is he. Others said, He's like him. But he said, I am he. Let me first say that giving sight to a blind man, a man who has never seen, who was born blind, is clearly something that can only be done with Yahuwah's help. It's extraordinary, more than something any human can do. But what's also interesting is how the apostles assume that the man had been born blind because of sin, whether his own or his parents. In this, we can see that when people do not turn away from their sins and the sins of their ancestors, they will have to pay for it. Not everything bad in our lives is Satan. It's sometimes just us, or the people before us. Satan's a thief and a liar, but a thief can't break into a house that's locked and has good security, can he? We have to make ourselves like a locked and well-guarded house by praying and reading Bible. Then by actually doing the things we read. Next, let's go to Mark chapter 7, verses 24 to 30. And from thence he arose and went into the borders of Tyre and Sidon, and entered into an house, and would have no man know it, but he could not be hid. For a certain woman, whose young daughter had an unclean spirit, heard of him, and came and fell at his feet. The woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by nation, and she besought him that he would cast forth the devils out of her daughter. But Yahusha said unto her, Let the little children first be filled, for it is not meet to take the children's bread, and to cast it unto the dogs. And she answered and said unto him, Yes, master, yet the dogs under the table eat of the children's crumbs. And he said unto her, For this saying go thy way, the devil is gone out of thy daughter. And when she was come to her house, she found the devil gone out, and her daughter laid upon the bed. At the time of the story, Yahusha was only trying to help his own people, the descendants of Jacob, called Yasharal. But this woman, who is called a Syrophoenician, is probably a Canaanite, an enemy of Yasharal. Even though Yahusha doesn't feel inclined to help her at first, her humility and faith win him over. She convinces him simply by pointing out that what she's asking for would take so little power compared to the power he has. It would be like tossing the dog a crumb because you have a huge plate of food and wouldn't miss the crumb. Even though she's not a daughter of Yahuwah's chosen nation, Yahusha helps her because she has the faith of one, which he does even now, helping all, but those who believe and seek him most. Moving on to Luke chapter 8, verses 26 to 33. And they arrived at the country of the Gadarenes, which is over against Galilee. And when he went forth to land, there met him out of the city a certain man, which had devils a long time, and wear no clothes, neither abode in any house, but in the tombs. When he saw Yahusha, he cried out, and fell down before him, and with a loud voice said, What have I to do with thee, Yahusha, thou son of Yahuwah Most High? I beseech thee, torment me not. For he had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For oftentimes it had caught him, and he was kept bound with chains and in fetters. And he brake the bands, and was driven of the devil into the wilderness. And Yahusha asked him, saying, What is thy name? And he said, Legion, because many devils were entered into him. And they besought him that he would not command them to go out into the deep. And there was there an herd of many swine feeding on the mountain. And they besought him that he would suffer them to enter into them. And he suffered them. Then went the devils out of the man, and entered into the swine. And the herd ran violently down a steep place into the lake, and were choked. This one is serious. First off, don't let anyone tell you that there are no such things as evil spirits or devils, because Bible just said there are. Second, look at how the devils in this guy know who Yahusha is. It's because devils are spirits. They see the spiritual world. No doubt, they looked at Yahusha and they saw that he was not like any human spirit. Next, this man was made freakishly strong by the unclean spirits inside him. That's why we shouldn't idolize the characters we see on TV who are superhuman. They're probably just full of devils. This man has a legion of devils, which is to say an entire army. And for a reason which we'll discuss later, when Yahusha tells them to come out, they beg not to go into the deep. I told you the deep was scary. Instead, they enter the herd of pigs, who refuse to have these devils inside them and throw themselves into the water instead. Not even animals like or can tolerate evil. Alright, let's move down to Luke chapter 8 verses 43 to 48. And a woman, having an issue of blood 12 years, which had spent all her living upon physicians, neither could be healed of any, came behind him and touched the borders of his garment, and immediately her issue of blood stanched. And Yahusha said, Who touched me? When all denied, Peter and they that were with him said, Master, the multitude throng thee and press thee, and thou sayest, Who touched me? And Yahusha said, Somebody hath touched me, for I perceive that virtue is gone out of me. And when the woman saw that she was not hid, she came trembling and falling down before him. She declared unto him before all the people for what cause she had touched him, and how she was healed immediately. And he said unto her, Daughter, be of good comfort, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace. This poor woman has been bleeding for 12 years, and no doctor could help her. One touch of the word and she's healed. Imagine her shock when she realized she was immediately healed. Imagine her faith. She believed that just one touch would heal her. Also, take special note, Yahusha noticed that someone had touched him and something had left him. Even though they're in a crowd of people, the touch of the one woman drew out some spiritual energy from him, and he immediately noticed. He felt the virtue leave him. Then, when the woman confessed that it was her, he's not even angry. He assures her that it was her faith that saved her. It's also her willingness to act. If she hadn't tried to touch him, but instead just hoped but done nothing herself, she might not have been healed that day. Next, we'll go to John chapter 11, verses 32 to 44. Then, when Mary was come where Yahusha was, and saw him, she fell down at his feet, saying unto him, Master, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. When Yahusha therefore saw her weeping, and the Yahudim also weeping, which came with her, he groaned in the spirit, and was troubled, and said, Where have you laid him? They said unto him, Master, come and see. Yahusha wept. Then said the Yahudim, Behold how much he loved him. And some of them said, Could not this man, which opened the eyes of the blind, have caused that even this man should not have died? Yahusha therefore again groaning in himself, cometh to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. Yahusha said, Take ye away the stone. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, saith unto him, Master, by this time he stinketh, for he hath been dead 4 days. Yahusha saith unto her, Said I not unto thee, that if thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of Yahuwah? Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid, and Yahusha lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I knew that thou hearest me always, but because of the people which stand by I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. Yahusha saith unto them, Loose him, and let him go. Bruh. Yahusha raised the man from the dead. This friend of his was dead for 4 days, and with one command, just 3 little words, this man came back to life. His spirit came back to his body, and he got up and walked. There are other instances in Bible where people are brought back to life, but it's usually after just a few hours, not 4 whole days. Yahusha really shows the glory and the power of his Father Yahuwah. Notice also how he says he only speaks out loud so that everyone who hears can have proof that it's Yahuwah raising Lazarus from the dead because Yahusha asked him to. Yahusha knows that Yahuwah always hears. Finally, let's look at a different kind of miracle, but a miracle all the same. Let's go to Matthew chapter 17, verses 1 to 9. And after 6 days, Yahusha taketh Peter, James, and John his brother, and bringeth them up into an high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them. And his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elijah, talking with him. Then answered Peter, and said unto Yahusha, Master, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt, let us make 3 tabernacles here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud, which said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their faces, and were sore afraid. And Yahusha came and touched them, and said, Arise, and be not afraid. And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man save Yahusha only. And when they came down from the mountain, Yahusha charged them, saying, Tell the vision to no man, until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead. To be transfigured means to change your physical appearance. So Yahusha changes himself like, I don't know, a transformer, a superhero, right in front of these 3 men. Then begins to speak to Moses and Elijah, both of whom haven't been seen in hundreds of years. Then Yahuwah himself speaks from a cloud and confirms that Yahusha is his son. The apostles are so afraid that they can't even look any longer. But by the time they reopen their eyes, everything is back to normal. Amazing. It can only be a miracle. Yahusha truly is the son of Yahuwah, because no normal human can do such things. Notice how Yahusha asked John, James, and Peter also to keep what they've seen a secret until he, Yahusha, is raised from the dead. And yes, we'll get to that. But again, this video is so long. We'll continue another time. Until then, Hallelujah.